evening, ladies and gentlemen. We've invited first class. Now we're inviting executive platinum, emerald, sapphire.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and I'm very pleased to welcome back the knowledgeable Grinch, Lee Harris, because you got some good stuff this week, but as well, it's a bit Grinchy as well.
Yeah, unfortunately so. Yeah, I'm definitely more Grinch this week than Santa Claus delivering presents, I've got to say. It's quite sad.
Yeah, well, before we get into that, I've got to say that Crew Travel is brought to you weekly by Blue Marine Travel. We haven't lost a passenger since Lee Harris was born back in the late 1900s, and myself as well, to be absolutely honest. There's been a lot happening this week. There was like an absolute travesty over the Christmas weekend. I believe Christmas Eve in the States, there was some massive cancellations of flights.
Yeah, there were. Yeah, Delta Airlines and United Airlines, they cancelled. I think it was close to 300 flights last minute on Christmas Eve. So a lot of people's plans for Christmas were thrown into turmoil. Luckily, touch wood, I don't know of any of our crew or anybody who got stuck, but it was just domestic US flights. So obviously a lot of unhappy people, that's for sure.
Well, there's a lot of countries. I know Monaco now is on level 4. There's another, like the 2 world's richest countries have now just skyrocketed. I know the Balearic Islands, they went up to 1,000 cases the day after Christmas. And I think people really let their guard down over the Christmas holidays with Christmas parties, et cetera, after a couple of years of not being able to celebrate, and allowed this new variant to really take off.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, isn't it? Like you say, for the last 2 years, people have had to be locked down or limit themselves to maybe 1 or 2 family members at Christmas time, which is, predominantly a time for families to get together. So when they're finally given the opportunity, then, unfortunately, sometimes caution gets thrown out the window and, unfortunately, people are now going to have to start to pay the price. That's the reality of it.
What a shame. What is the good news today?
Yeah, so there is a little bit of good news. So we'll start with that anyway. The Dutch authorities have abolished the flight ban introduced for 8 Southern African countries weeks ago due to the Omicron virus variant concerns. According to a press release issued by the Dutch authorities, the measure entered into force on December the 23rd, impacting arrivals, especially from South Africa. The Dutch authorities issued new regulations for travel to and via the Netherlands, meaning it is now possible for all passengers traveling from South Africa to travel to and transit through the Netherlands. Vaccinated and non-vaccinated passengers must be in possession of a negative PCR test dated no older than 48 hours before departure, and an antigen test of up to 24 hours old before departure. This does not apply to passengers in transit. The rules there mean that the requirements of the country of the person's final destination will be what applies in that instance. And now vaccinated and non-vaccinated travellers will be required to quarantine for 10 days if they come from a very high-risk area, which obviously will now be South Africa. This quarantine period can be shortened with a negative COVID test conducted via the Dutch health authorities on day 5 of quarantine. All passengers must also complete a health form and a quarantine declaration form to travel to the Netherlands.
Right. Well, let's head to some bad news. What's going on in Thailand?
Yeah, unfortunately, Thailand, they've reimposed mandatory COVID-19 quarantine for foreign visitors, again, due to concerns over the spread of the Omicron variant. A quarantine waiver was also scrapped from last Tuesday. Now, the decision to halt Thailand's test and go waiver means visitors will now have to undergo hotel quarantine, which ranges between 7 to 10 days, depending on what part of Thailand you end up in. The sandbox scheme, which requires visitors to remain in a specific location, but allows them free movement outside of their accommodation, will also be suspended in all places except the tourist resort island of Phuket. The announcement came a day after Thailand reported their first case of local transmission of the Omicron variant.
Right, and we get to go to our good old favorite, New Zealand and the MIQ Lottery, which everybody was celebrating the finish of very shortly. It's going to be extended.
It is, unfortunately. So, yeah, New Zealand has postponed a phased reopening to international travel from January until at least the end of February now, as part of plans to minimise the risk of the Omicron variant. The move is being made to slow the rapid spread seen overseas, according to the New Zealand government. Now, the country had planned to allow fully vaccinated New Zealanders to return home from January, with foreign travellers allowed to enter from April the 30th. Now, that date, as far as we know at the moment, the date for foreign travellers coming on April the 5th is yet to be changed. So that's still on course at this moment in time. But as we know, things change very quickly. The phased border reopening will be reviewed at the end of February, which obviously in turn means the much maligned MIQ system is going to be in place for a little longer than had been expected.
Do you know what? New Zealand did a lot of things right throughout the entire virus. But the one thing that they did wrong is ignore their seafaring nation, and not allowing their own citizens to come home. And I think that is just, I don't know, one of the biggest oversights on the face of the planet, and something that, really needs to be addressed.
I totally agree. It's disgusting that you can stop your own people coming, or allow your people to take part in a lottery to get back to their country where they live, where they're paying taxes, where they get to vote, all this stuff, that we take as granted. And these poor people have been left sort of high and dry, I know people for 9, 12, 15, 18 months where they're not being able to get back into New Zealand because of MIQ and having to go back to, say the UK or somewhere in Europe just to spend their time off. How the government can sit there and look, and be happy with the decisions they've made with regards to the seafarers, I'll never know. Well,
I figured the way they can make it back is to not charge those seafarers tax for the entire time that they were left out of the country. Seems fair.
Exactly right. Yeah, if you've got people 18 months not being in the country, but they're having to pay tax all that time and they're not seeing any benefit to it.
Yeah.
I do know there was one seafarer, actually. I don't know how she got on, but she was fighting paying her tax because, like you say, she had no access to the facilities that she was paying for. So I need to find out how she got on in the end, actually.
It'd be interesting. Yeah, it'd be interesting to interview as well. You'll have to send her my way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, good luck to all the seafarers out there in New Zealand. Let's hope this comes to an end soon. And Singapore has some bad news as well.
Yes, they do. Yes, Singapore authorities, they have announced a temporary halt in sales for its vaccinated travel lane services. Again, attempts to avoid the rapid spread of the Omicron variant, which has already been seen in obviously many other countries. The suspension came into effect at 11:59 p.m. local time on December the 22nd for all VTL services scheduled to take place up to and including January 20th. After this date, VTL sales will be capped at 50% of the allocated quota. Customers with existing VTL bookings over the period can continue to travel under previously published conditions. The move affects the VTL agreements in place with 24 countries, and it also includes the overland bus service with Malaysia.
And we have a little good news out of the EU.
Yeah, it's sort of good news, isn't it? This past Tuesday, a European Union court ruled that passengers should be awarded compensation from airlines if their flight is brought forward by more than 1 hour. The amount will be the same as for flight cancellations and delays. Airlines who have struggled to compensate passengers during the crisis, they've all pledged apparently to get better at informing customers of their rights. I'll be surprised if they do, but apparently that's what they've said. The EU allows for compensation to passengers of €250 to €600 in the case of cancellations less than 14 days prior to departure, or if there is a delay of over 3 hours. However, airlines are typically permitted to reduce the amount by 50% if they can reroute the passenger and they arrive less than a few hours late. Now, the court's judges reasoned that if a flight is brought forward by at least an hour, this causes travellers the same inconvenience as if the flight was delayed. Compensation awarded will be the same as for a cancelled or delayed departure, so the €250 to €600. However, airlines will not receive a 50% discount with the offer of a reroute.
I mean, it makes sense because if you're doing a long haul flight, for example, and you've got, a couple bounces around, 1 hour brought forward messes with your entire schedule.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it can be a real pain. So, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, because if you miss that first flight because it's brought forward an hour, then the likelihood that you're going to find another flight to get you where you need to go to get your ongoing flights, greatly increases that you're going to miss all those flights. And then what?
Yeah, exactly right. Let's just hope that the airlines do play ball and are better at, educating people and informing them as well. But The proof will be in the pudding. I'm not convinced, I've got to say.
Yeah. One thing I did want to mention, actually, I think sometimes I've seen news reports around the world where crew on the airlines are getting harassed as a result of the mask mandate, of the testing, et cetera, et cetera. We're all human. And as crew yourselves, except for on yachts, you do understand when you have you've got a certain set of rules and regulations that you have to abide by on your yacht when you have charter guests or the owners are on board. It doesn't matter. Give the same courtesy you would expect to those crew on an airline, because they're only doing exactly what they're supposed to do according to the law. They're getting paid peanuts in comparison to 20 years ago when airline travel was very prestigious. Now people rock up in sandals and a sweatshirt, and they get it for $50, right? And they expect to be treated like a god. Meanwhile, they're drunk and disorderly, and treat the cabin crew like they're crap. And don't and do as you're asked to do. This isn't a safe job. I mean, there's dangers that are inherent in this job. They aren't getting, like I said, paid as much as they probably should be. So just give them a little bit of respect. And what's happening is that airlines around the world are now saying that if you cause any disruption whatsoever, they might put you on a no-fly list, or some other careful passenger list or something. So some respect.
It's definitely. Yeah, it's been highlighted recently in the US because I think they're having a real issue with unruly passengers. Not some of it was through the sale of alcohol. Some is just people. COVID is a stressful time. Traveling's a stressful time at the moment, and obviously they weren't dealing with it very well. And I think the cases, if they went through the roof, they increased of unruly behaviour by about 300%. I think last year compared to the year before. So. It's tough, checking stuff. It's not the easiest job in the world. And it's not just the passengers coming in, making sure they've got the mask mandate and all the rest of it. But every country has different rules and regulations. And then you've got to take into consideration the transit points as well. And these guys have got to try and do it on the fly. They may be working to one destination one day and then to another one. And they've got to, readjust their thinking of what's needed and what's not needed and all the rest of it. So, it's a very stressful time at the moment. Let's just be kind.
Well, and really, one crew to another crew. It doesn't matter whether you're up in the air or on the water. You're still crew.
Exactly. Yes, that's right.
Well, let's give us some great news. We have the end of the year overall photo competition winner for Blue Marine Travel. And of course, this means a nice big chunk of cash goes into a charity of said photo competition winners' coffers, as it were. Who is it?
Yeah, so as everybody knows, Blue Marine Travel have been running a photo competition throughout 2021 with monthly winners through to November and an overall winner in December from the previous 11-month winners. Today's the day we're going to announce the grand prize winner, whose charity will win a whopping £500 donation from ourselves here at Blue Marine Travel. Now, throughout December, all staff at Blue Marine Travel have been carefully selecting their favourite, and we finally have the overall winner. It was a very close run thing, but I'm pleased to announce the grand winner of the 2021 Blue Marine Photo Competition is... February's winner, Laurent Kramer. He is the overall winner. So way back in February, Lawrence sent us some truly amazing photos of lemon shark in South Florida. Now, for anybody who has not seen the photos, these can still be seen on the Blue Marine Travel webpage under the photo competition tab. And if you've not seen it, honestly, I would highly recommend listeners taking a visit because they are breathtaking. They really are. Lawrence's chosen charity, which initially won the £50 donation from us, was Shark Allies, and they will now be receiving the £500 donation. For anyone who wants to see the wonderful work that this charity undertakes, please head to www.sharkallies.org. Just want to say once again, massive congratulations to Lauren and a massive thank you to everyone who entered, everybody who shared the competition details on their social media, and for all of the people who commented on our social media with regards to the photos that were sent in. It was truly appreciated. It was a great competition, one we thoroughly enjoyed here at Blue Marine Travel, and we will look to do something else for next year. So again, thanks to everybody.
Nice one. Well, and Shark Allies. I mean, you know what? I got to say, sharks are given a bad rap. And if it weren't for them, I mean, the entire ecosystem of the ocean would go to pot. We need sharks, and we need sharks to have allies. We need sharks to be there in order to maintain the balance in the ocean the way it needs to be done.
Exactly right. It's funny because again, this wasn't something that I particularly knew. I didn't know that, everybody, you see Jaws and all the rest of it, and they get this bad rap, and everybody thinks sharks are these evil predators and all the rest of it. But that can't be that can't be any further from the truth of what they actually do. And like you say, and how pivotal they are in the ecosystem. This is information. I'm 40, coming up to 44, and I didn't know this until Lauren chose the Shark Allies website. And I went on there and had a look, and I sort of realized exactly how crucial they are to everything. So people should head over to the website, that's for sure, and get a better understanding of what sharks mean to the ecosystem and to life in general.
You know what? Sharks are probably much better to humans and much better to the environment than humans are. So if anything should be taken out, it should be humans.
Exactly, you're right. That's very true.
We're more bloodthirsty and likely to kill each other than sharks are. So, Oh, the world we live in. Sorry,
Crazy.
guys. I know it's the season and all, and we're supposed to be all happy and cheerful. But sometimes, me, I see the world with a dark edge. Lee, I have to say thank you. It has been an absolute pleasure dealing with you this year, and I look forward to what 2022 is going to be bringing both of us.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, I've got to say, 2021 has been, Sunday nights has been the highlight of my year, I've got to say, Ria. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I know. I live to bring you joy, really.
I see it, that clearly just on purpose.
Oh, you know what? Everyone out there is going, oh, that poor man. He's got to see her once a week. Yes, and I have to say, I'm going to be another year older when I talk to you next as well. So
I know. It's a big one as well, isn't it? Do we keep it on the down low?
Yeah, I'm going to be 40.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, it's a big one. And the fact that I've survived being on this planet for 50 years is well, it's a shock to me. I can imagine it's a shock to the rest of you.
Well, happy birthday to you anyway, Ria, because like you say, we're not going to be doing this until after you've turned 50. So a massive happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Lee. You have a great week and celebrate New Year's like it's the last one you're ever going to have, because you never know, right? I'm sure you're going to be fine. That just sounded really bad.
Yeah, thanks.
There's my dark circle coming up. What am I? Oh my goodness. That's all right. Have a great New Year's with your family. Enjoy yourself and stay at home away from other people.
I will do. That sounds like a perfect plan, actually. A perfect evening.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same. I've got a nice terrace that I'm going to go out and watch the fireworks from, but I'm staying away from these people that are, passing around the virus like nobody's business because, well, people are people and they're not sharks. Sharks would be better.
Yes, for sure.
You've been watching another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I have been your host. We'll see you again next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're boarding passengers seated in zones E and F.